the Knicks, they come out the gates. They're able to handle the Ant-Man third quarter, who had 16 points. And in the fourth quarter, Mikal Bridges was able to cut this thing down to 5 points. You had a Mikal Bridges bucket that cut that down to 5. But after that, Julius just went to work. You had a couple of bad possessions by the Knicks. You had a Ariel Hukporti handoff that got broken up by the Timberwolves. Then you had a Tyler Kolek to Hukporti pick and roll that got broken up. That leads to a Randle 3. Towns comes back down. He shoots a brick. Julius comes back. He goes right at Towns because at this point, Karl's got four fouls. So Julius is trying to get him to pick up his 5th, which was a good job by Julius remaining aggressive. So Julius would score there and then basically would score the next 15 straight points. So after that 17-3 run, after that fourth quarter comeback by the Knicks, the Wolves would come back led by Julius, 15 straight Wolves points, and they really never looked back. From there, they got a couple of clutch threes, one from DiVincenzo, and Julius just kept on cooking. But, look, it is what it is. I would say despite that fourth quarter outburst by Julius, look, the Knicks, they kept scrapping the entire game. Despite, not having the chemistry that you would expect, especially with Jalen and OG out, and just guys just trying to find themselves. You had Towns with his typical bad decision-making with the bad fouls. So despite his 40 points, which was a game high, the Knicks kind of had to weather those storms. It all just came down to the fourth quarter where the Wolves kind of separated.
Yeah, man, it was a lot of self-inflicted wounds upon the Knicks tonight, man, whether it was bad turnovers, poor fouling on Karl-Anthony Towns. Even Josh Hart picked up the flagrant, man, and I understand his frustration with Rudy Gobert in that instance, who just, hitting him as he's midair trying to grab a board. But you just don't go after a guy's legs, man. Like, we had that same issue with Embiid going at Mitch. Like, you should know from that you don't do the same thing. So it was a lot of inflicted wounds tonight, man. Missed opportunities. That lineup to start the second quarter was just downright awful. You did not have any scoring whatsoever, so you just dug yourself a bigger hole for the Knicks, and we didn't see a lot of those guys from the second and third unit tonight after the beginning of that quarter. So, all in all, look, entertaining game. I thought it was good to see what Kolek could do in extended minutes. I thought it was impressive on his part that he was able to get 20. Get the 11 boards, 8 assists. I thought he showed a lot more playmaking, a lot more poise. Even some of the shots that he was missing tonight is just him getting comfortable playing, a team that is competing for a playoff position in the West. So I did like to see his aggression tonight, how he was able to get downhill, even against a more stingier defense that he has played so far. So I did like to see that development for him, just because moving forward, once again, you want to see him stay in the rotation, just because you need somebody behind Jalen Brunson who can just continue to be a playmaker, facilitate, create opportunities for guys on the court, and that's what he did tonight. So I thought it was a good showing from Tyler Kolek. I think Mike Brown, if you're looking at Mike Brown right now, like, you take the loss in this case just because, you didn't have your top guns tonight in OG and Brunson, but you say, hey, I learned what Kolek can do and what some of my other guys can do when I give them more minutes. And you can now say, hey, I can lean on him moving forward because, as they said on the broadcast, McBride and Shamet are both due to come back soon. So with those two guys, you're going to get a little bit more of a tighter rotation. So you got to figure out how do you go carve all these minutes for these guys. And as I mentioned with CK on the last post-game live, man, I think Kolek should stay in the rotation just because of how he's improved, especially getting downhill and all that playmaking as I just talked about. So I'd like to see him continue his development throughout the season, because I do believe if you continue to give him more minutes and we see his development go in this, upward trajectory, then he could be a pivotal guy in the postseason when you need to rely on him, when you got to give Brunson some rest. Outside of that, Knicks had it in the bag, man. They could have had this game. They in the third quarter, they literally took the lead. You know what I mean? So they had it. They could have kept fighting. And that's after what you said, when Ant-Man was going off in that third quarter, they had it. Disappointing, because I wanted to see that this team was more than capable of winning without Brunson or OG on the floor. We talk about depth for this team, and they have a good amount of depth right now. I thought they had enough to beat a Wolves team that was really playing with their food tonight. I thought they could have done that. Sad they didn't see that, but once again, you can't be shooting yourself in the foot, man. Even when you are missing guys, that's the more disappointing thing for tonight, and that's really leaning on the guys who the guys who are available. So I'm looking at Cat, Mitch, Hart, Bridges, like those guys. You got three of your five stars out there, and you got what, four of your I guess your seven if you include McBride and Mitch. So like I thought you still had enough to go out there and win. Like I said, because the Timberwolves were playing with their food. I like Kolek's game, man. I like the development, and considering from what you just gotta really got to put in perspective to what we saw during summer league, man, to what he's doing now. It's a jump. It really is a jump, and obviously from last season too. And that's where I go back to, man. Like, this guy could be a critical piece when you talk about it in the postseason, where you're looking for a guy who can create for others, and that's what he was doing tonight. Like, he could have had more assists tonight, man. He could have had more assists tonight. Obviously, one half of the assist is making the pass, the other half is guys got to make the shots after you make that pass. And I thought for Kolek, the way that he's able to, it's not pure speed getting downhill. Because like some guys, when you watch watch them in the league, a lot of it's just pure speed. Like, oh, I'll just scoot right past you, get down the middle, and then go try to get a shot or just go kick it out to the perimeter. He's actually using his body and he's actually being physical, man. And he's looking at how guys are positioning themselves, like which foot is leaning back, which way should I take? And they keep talking about how how Kolek's gone to the Brunson school.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. And you could start to see that. You could really see that by the way he's even throwing up floaters, how he's attacking the rim. Once again, just using his strength, the footwork. I thought that you see all of that just slowly coming to fruition, where you get this guy that now honestly. Don't even look for trading for a point guard at this point. It looks like you got something here, and you should be working on it. And kudos to Mike Brown for empowering this guy when you lose Deuce, when you lose Shamet, to get that confidence. Because let's remember, to even start the season, he got minutes, then he lost minutes, right? And now due to injuries, he's back in it again. And he's taking advantage of this opportunity. And so you got to give Mike Brown credit for giving him that second chance again. You got to give credit for Kolek for taking advantage of it. But I like the way that Kolek is playing right now. Definitely got to keep him in this rotation. When Shamet, when McBride come back. And so, CP, the question for you, as I asked CK on the last post game, is he staying in the rotation when those guys come back?
Has to. Yeah, he absolutely has to. He's playing that well. I think it's going to come down to, once you get Deuce back, once you get Shamet back, I think it's going to come down to Kolek and Clarkson being that 0.5 guy now. I think Yabusele, to me, is going to start to become an afterthought unless they find a trade for him. But the way that Kolek is facilitating his playmaking, his ability to play alongside Jalen Brunson as another ball handler, Brown's going to find minutes for him. Unless the matchup tells you otherwise, Brown's going to find those minutes for him, and he's earning it. And as I said, this is a perfect time for the Knicks, and this is a perfect time for Tyler Kolek. You have roughly 2 months between now and the trade deadline. So this is a great opportunity now, and they're going to be playing tougher teams. Including Detroit. Like I said, Detroit, January 5th, I'm putting them in there. I don't care who's back. I want to see Tyler go out there against Cade. I want to see Tyler out there in Detroit on the road in a pressure cooker. I'm going to throw Huck Porty out there. We're on Kyler, but I'm going to throw Huck Porty out there against Beef Stew. Like, let's see how they measure up under extreme pressure situations, because that's what the playoffs are. That's what you can envision in those 10 minutes where you might need them, couple minutes a game, 8 to 10 where you might need them in the playoffs. So this is a great opportunity for both sides. Tyler to keep improving, which he's been doing since he started in his second year, and for the Knicks to evaluate and say, hey, how do we use this Yabusele contract to add some more bench depth? Maybe you don't need to look at the Alvarado direction. Maybe we go wing, maybe you go big. Best play available, we'll see. But Tyler's certainly going to make it difficult for him. Karl-Anthony Towns, great game by the Bodega tonight. Despite the tough, spotty decisions, especially where it came to his fouls, hey, whenever he comes back home to Minnesota, those rims remember that shooter's touch. 40 points for Towns, 14 and 24 from the field, 3-6 from downtown, 13 rebounds to boot, but he had the 5 turnovers. Some of those were offensive fouls. Got frustrated there, here and there. But, man, if it wasn't for those, he could have had 50 easily on his old team. And so, look, give credit. I know there was a lot of, talk. There was a lot of noise. What's going on with Towns? Only the 2 points. And the Knicks went over the Miami Heat. That's the Towns experience, man. This is the Towns experience. Nothing that I'm too surprised about. And somebody was asking me, what's going on with Towns? I said, listen, he'll be fine. He comes out and drops 40 and 13 tonight. So, look, he did what he could do offensively to keep his team in it. Tyler did what he could do, but the Soda duo was just that much better, man. Tough one for the big bodega, but he's got to bounce back against the Twin Towers in Allen and Mobley on Knicksmas, man.
Yeah, and look, man, like he's been playing. How would you describe Cat's season this year? Because last year when he joined the Knicks, it was like gangbusters, came out rolling. You know what I mean? Like just highly efficient scoring. And not saying that he hasn't had those nights this year. And I get that he's adapting to Mike Brown's system. I think he's improved slightly defensively under Mike Brown. But there's obviously you still get the Towns experience as you mentioned. How would you grade his season so far, man? Because I'm seeing a lot of it's very mixed, man. I mean, it's just funny. Even on the last post game, it's like people are upset. Where I'm like, how do I feel about the Towns 2 point? I'm like, all right, we won, man. Like I'm not gonna go in on him getting 2 points. It's like this is who he is. But how would you grade this season so far from him? If you had to give him a third of the season review.
Yeah, I mean it's been a mixed bag. Obviously, he's had his ups, he's had his downs, he's had his spotlight games, and he's had his nightmares. I would say B- overall. Nothing. I'm not gonna say C or anything like that. I'd say B-. But for me with Cat, I want to see him just get to the playoffs healthy. Because on some nights I'm like, you know what? Like on the 2-point night, I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm all right with that. Like we don't need you going 150 miles an hour with them wheels, with the quad and this and that. Again, he's another guy that they need as fresh. See, Cap can grit it out. You know what I mean? When Cap gets to the postseason, every extremity he's got something going on. He's got an ailment, but you wouldn't know it because he's still gonna kill you for 30, 40, and a clutch bucket. With Cat, you got to make sure you got to get him there healthy, man. And look, the defense, he's been fine. Offensively, it's been a struggle. Just in terms of his decision-making, it's been spotty. You see it tonight again where Minnesota gets the best of him. They know him. They know him better than anybody else. Julius knows him. Gobert knows him. Dante's a smart defender, so they know how to get under his skin. Unfortunately, that's probably not an aspect of his game that's ever really going to change. So, here's where these people like Ersan Rodriguez, he's like 40 and 13 tonight. You're blaming Cat. We're not blaming Cat. There's no Cat blame. We're talking about, is this guy going to deliver for the team in the playoffs, man? Point blank. See, people conflate the two. Regular season success. Why do you think we started the show talking about Kolek, despite Cat having the 40 points? He does this. That's fine, man. That's great. That's who he is. That's what he's getting paid to do. He's the highest paid player on the team. But, again, when you see the other things, you think about a big spot in the playoffs. And is he going to deliver for the team? That's what it's about, bro. It's not about game 23. I don't care about that. It's about what that means in April, May, and June. Well, let's take a look at the key stats of the night. Knicks shooting 41% from the field, 45% for the Wolves, 37% from downtown, about league average for the Knicks, to 33% for the Wolves. Knicks did shoot 73% from the charity stripe, 70% for the Wolves. Knicks out-rebounded them very well, 55-42, including 18 on the offensive rebounding side. So it's always a plus when you have Hart, Mitch, and Towns out there to be able to snag those boards, and they did a good job tonight. Turnovers-wise, with Kolek at the helm, and wasn't really much on Kolek, but Knicks did turn it over to 19 times, leading to 22 Minnesota points, and some of those came at bad times. As I mentioned, part of that fourth quarter barrage by Julius came off of the Knicks having a couple empty possessions in a row, and that really got Minnesota into a groove and on a run of their own. Knicks did lose the fast break battle 20-16. Points in the paint, they won again pretty big, 54-42. And then largest lead of the night, Al, 4 for the Knicks, 17 for the Timberwolves. They led for 88% of this game.
I think my biggest takeaway from this one, CP, comes down to the rebounding. That's my biggest takeaway, because you do have a good rebounder in Rudy Gobert, and so the fact that you're able to compete with him, obviously Julius is also a solid rebounder too. Ant-Man can get up there. I like seeing that the Knicks were able to compete in this one. Another one for me is just, look, once again, if you really want to go to the silver linings, you could talk about the lead changes. There were 10 lead changes against a team that's looking to compete out in the West. So with this roster, which you're coming in this one, you don't have Jalen Brunson, you don't have OG. Minnesota, I know they got some injuries as well, but for the most part, they're pretty healthy. If you're coming into this one saying, hey, did the Knicks have enough to come out there and win? They showed that they had enough, man. I mean, it's not that Minnesota came out here and just, knocked the doors off. They won 115-104, and it was pretty close for most of the night. Like I said, you're talking about missed opportunities from the Knicks' perspective, where they just had poor turnovers, poor decision-making, and even with Randle and Ant-Man getting hot, they were able to keep pace. So that'll be my silver lining for, hey, and this one, could have had it, man. Could have had it. Take away a few good things from this game.
Yeah, not bad at all. For me, I'll go the fast break direction. 20-16, Minnesota got the Knicks, and some of those were off of Knick turnovers. However, the start of the game, we continue to see that Achilles heel for the Knicks, no matter which personnel you have out there, and that is teams looking for the opportunity to run on them. And tonight, with them seeing Mitchell Robinson out there, with Karl-Anthony Towns out there, and Karl picking up the foul trouble early, you saw this Minnesota team. They were off to the races, off of makes, off of misses, off of turnovers. That, to me, is why things kind of changed, especially in the second half, is because they weren't playing as fast. But in the beginning, when they were playing that way, the Knicks had a hard time keeping up with them. Obviously, with the pretty new rotation, the transition defense became even more of a challenge, just guys being on the same page, tagging up guys and identifying who they were going to be covering there. But I thought that was another area. That's another area where the Knicks really have to clean up even when they are at full strength. But tonight, it was once again a challenge. And so that's where I'm going tonight for the my key stat. But I thought that, the rebounding, the points in the paint, that was a good job by the Knicks tonight. Shorthanded, they were in it. And those were the stats that kept the Knicks in the game, in my opinion. So, good job overall, but a tough loss by the squad. Scrappy job. I wouldn't say good job because they lost, but a scrappy one. Scrappy one for the Knicks, man.
Hey, the hustle category stats is what showed out tonight, man. The rebounding, second chance opportunities. So that's once again, like, they were in there, man. They were willing to work tonight. But they just could have shot better from the field. Shot 41% from the field, 37% from downtown. We've seen them shoot better in the past. This is a juggernaut of the offense, man. But when you're missing your captain, when you're missing OG, another guy who can knock down threes and just be a disruptor on defense, like, if you had the whole squad tonight, they would have knocked this team out, no question, in my opinion, if these guys were back in there. But it is what it is, man. You got enough to hustle out there and compete. And that's sometimes all you need to know, man. And look, in this one, it's Mike Brown warning what he's got on the roster. That's the biggest takeaway. He learned what he has on this roster and continues to decide who gets more minutes and who gets to be cut.
Good points there. And the key stats of the night, Al, brought to you guys by our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. Thanks to our guys at DraftKings for sponsoring today's show. And hey, the holiday basketball has arrived. As we mentioned, Knicks versus Cavs on Knicksmas, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is where you want to be. Don't forget, DraftKings has your back with early exit. If your player goes down in the first half, you will still get paid. And for new customers, use our code KFTV on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet $5, just $5, and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777. or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through of per-wage tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days, and minimum odds are required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. And once again, this is a limited time offer.
Flexing on like Huck Porty and Karl-Anthony Towns when he has 5 fouls is crazy. Like Julius was acting like it was the finals out there. Like the first time he kind of, did the little flex, that was all right. Cat does that all the time. Then he did it again. Then he started hyping up the crowd. Then that shimmy was just like, oh, come on, like you're doing too much. That just annoyed me a little bit. Because we know it as Knicks fans, like not to make it about Julius Randle, but we've seen this movie before. We know it's smoke and mirrors. Yeah. Ant is the one that won them the game. That third quarter is when everything shifted, when Ant was just going off. He was hitting tough contested shots. Yeah. But the main point I was trying to make is this is like what I can see happening in the playoffs. Karl-Anthony Towns gets the foul trouble. We're going to need him in those fourth quarter minutes, but then he's even more of a defensive liability because he has 5 fouls. He's already a defensive liability without that. But when you have 5 fouls and you worry about getting into foul trouble, now it's like a turnstile, and that's kind of what was happening. That's why Julius was able to hit those easy jump shots. That's why he was able to kind of bullying him in there. It's not because he's that much stronger. It's because Towns was kind of, avoiding that contact so he doesn't get kicked out of the game.
Yeah, well, if it's not him, there's really nobody else that can match Julius's strength. Mitch tried to keep him in front, but Julius is a bull, man. And when he's got that full head of steam and he's got that momentum, we've seen it. We know what this guy is, and he can be dangerous. So he got the best of him tonight. That's why I didn't mind the showboating, because he backed it up. He steamrolled the Knicks, 17 points in the fourth. You got to allow the guy to dance, man. Knicks couldn't stop him.
Well, I mean, that's something to worry about for the playoffs, because again, that was a big issue in last year's run where Towns against his foul trouble, and like you said, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. He had a great offensive game. That's true. It's not where nobody's knocking him for that. But defensively, I mean, he can't put himself in these positions. One thing I'm going to say, though, like the refereeing, I know, not to make it about the refs, but I think it was Mike Breen I was watching on MSG where he said, like, you can basically call a moving screen on any play. It was so inconsistent, like what's a moving screen, what's not. There were a couple of plays where they called for an offensive moving screen, and you don't even know what it is. Like, what's the definition of it? So that was just really frustrating. Even Josh Hart, like that, when it made it seem like Ant kind of stole the ball from him, he pulled him down. It was very clear. And that's kind of when, I think we cut the lead to like 7 at that point, but then he stole it and dunked it. He clearly shoved him down with the left arm. So it's just frustrating with the refereeing, but, that's just the game.
Yeah, I hear you, man. That's just how it is with those guys. It was a tall order for the Knicks to begin with, but certainly the officiating didn't make it easy. And give credit for Josh Hart for not body slamming one of these guys. I thought it was going to go left. with Hart, but he was able to keep his composure just a little bit.